Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Hi guys, it's Splash and Crash here with another video, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the 2018 draft career projections tier list that I made. So basically, I have 23 players on here out of the 60 players that were drafted, plus a few undrafted players that are in the NBA right now and are playing games. So 21 of these guys were drafted, and 2 of them went undrafted. So basically, I have the players that I thought were going to have good careers based off these past 2 seasons. Like I said, it's only been 2 seasons, so like any of these players could move up or down on this list in their career projections next year or the year after that, maybe in a few years, because anyone can break out and anyone can completely fall off. And as well as some of the players that I didn't think were notable enough to put on this list, they could also break out and show that they deserve to be part of this list. So yeah, I split it into 5 different categories, which are the generational superstar, the perennial all-stars, the borderline all-stars, the good starters, and the starting caliber role players. So yeah, let's get into the list. So in the generational superstar category, I have Luka Doncic, Michael Porter Jr., and Trae Young. So yeah, I think all 3 of these guys will be top 30 players of all time by the end of their careers if they follow the trajectory that they are on now. Luka Doncic and Trae Young, yeah, that makes sense. These 2 guys are pretty much unanimously considered the top 2 players in this draft, as they have both turned into top tier superstars this year. Luka's in the MVP race, and Trae Young and Luka Doncic, they both made the All-Star team. Like, they both started in the All-Star game, and I think Luka will make All-NBA first team, and Trae Young, I think, has a case for All-NBA second team, but I think he'll be on All-NBA third team. Yeah, these 2 guys in their second seasons have been absolute superstars. Now, the third player in this tier is Michael Porter Jr., and yeah, so his picture's in the middle if you don't know who he is. Basically, he missed his entire rookie season due to injury, and he averaged 7 points per game this season before the restart. So you might be wondering, why is he in the generational superstar category? And like, why is he even on this list? Because those numbers aren't that good at all. Well, that's because of the potential he's shown before the bubble and how well he's played during the bubble. So, if we backtrack back all the way back to his senior year in high school, Michael Porter Jr. was ranked number 1 in this draft class, and number 1 in high school, as he averaged, I think, 35 points per game. I believe it was something around that in his senior season. So he was ranked number 1 in this draft class. So you might be wondering, why did he get picked so low in the draft? Why did he fall to 14? Like, why didn't he put up good numbers in the NBA until the bubble? Well, that's because of a really bad back injury he suffered in his first game of college basketball. This scared off a lot of scouts and had a lot of mock drafts having him slipping lower and lower as this college season continued. Despite this injury, he still declared for the draft, and because of that, the Denver Nuggets, who are already a pretty good team and were pretty close to making the playoffs that year, selected him with the 14th overall pick. He missed his entire rookie season due to injury as he was rehabbing, and throughout this season, he hasn't played much minutes, but in the few games where he played over 25 minutes, he was insane, and he averaged about 17 points per game. His per 36 minutes per this year were 19 points per game. So yeah, that's pretty good for a rookie, but it's not like incredible. Well, that's because like the NBA hiatus, the break, it was about the same length as an NBA offseason, and most of the time, rookie players take a huge jump from their rookie to sophomore season. And yeah, because of the break, Michael Porter Jr. was able to keep working on his game, and now during the bubble he's averaging about 29 points per game, and he has been absolutely incredible. Because of this, if he can stay healthy, which I think with the Nuggets development staff and medical staff, as they've been really careful with Michael Porter, I think he can stay healthy. So if that happens, I think he will reach the potential that everyone thought he had. LeBron James was praising him, and yeah, if you look at his past 2 games, they weren't incredible. The game against the Clippers, I think that was just an off night, and the game against the Lakers where he only had 15 points. If people were only looking at the 15 points, but if you look at his shooting percentage, he didn't miss a single shot that game, and he only played 24 minutes. 15 points in 24 minutes is really good, especially because he didn't even miss a shot that game. So yeah, Michael Porter Jr. right now is looking like Kevin Durant with muscles. That is scary. So yeah, if Michael Porter stays healthy, I think he will be on the same tier as Luka and Trey. Yeah, so let's go on to the next tier. So the perennial all-star tier, once again, I have 3 players in this tier. I have DeAndre Ayton, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, when I was making this list, I no hesitation, I put them in this tier. And that's because Jaren Jackson Jr. Has had a really good second season. He's averaged 17 points per game. His defense has, it wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be this year, but it has still been incredible, and he still looks like he will be a future Defensive Player of the Year candidate and maybe even a winner of it. And his 3-point shot has been incredible this year, especially because he has been handling the ball like a point guard, and he's been able to create a shot at power forward/center, and I think he will actually transition to the center position. So now you have a ball-handling, shot-creating big man who is an elite defender and super versatile. That is incredible. And before he got injured in the bubble, he was averaging 25 points per game. So, and a lot of people think he can be a most improved player candidate next year. And another thing is he's actually younger than everyone in this class by 1 year because he reclassified to the 2018 draft. He was actually supposed to be part of the 2019 draft. So because of that reclassification, he's a year younger than everyone in this draft. So that also means he has an extra year to grow. So, yeah, Jaren Jackson is going to be incredible, and I think he will be one of the best second options in the NBA, along with behind Ja Morant, as his first option. And the other player that I had no hesitation putting in this tier was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's because he has been absolutely incredible in OKC. He has switched to the shooting guard position. I think he can play both point guard and shooting guard as he played point guard last year. But yeah, he is a 6'5", all super athletic combo guard. He's an incredible defender. He has great size at 6'5" for both point guard and shooting guard. And he's been a great playmaker too. Pretty much his only weakness right now is his 3-point shot is okay. It's not terrible, but it's not as good as some of the better guards in the NBA, and that could hold him back. But I think he will develop that 3-point shot, and everything else about his game is so good that even if it's not even if he's not the best shooter in the NBA, if he can just get his 3-point shot to average or a bit above average, I think he will be incredible. Now, the final player in this tier is DeAndre Ayton, and I put him in this tier because I don't think I think he'll be better than a borderline all-star, but I don't think he will be as good as Jaren Jackson or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. because like his offense is looking pretty good. Like he's good in the post, but post play, the value of that is quickly decreasing. But in the bubble, he did show signs of being a pretty good three-point shooter. He was taking them and he was making a few of them. So I think he can develop a three-point shot. So yeah, on offense, I think he'll be really good for a center. But on defense, yeah, that's where the problems come in. So if you watch him play, like a casual fan might think he's a really, really, really good defender. As he gets blocks, he's pretty good in the interior against other big men. But in the modern NBA, that's not good for a center. Those are good skills to have, but you can't just have that and be called a good defender in the NBA. Right now, he is a bad defender because he can't switch on the pick and roll. Overall, he's bad at switching. If there is a switch and he successfully completes the switch, he can't guard anyone except a center. He just doesn't have the lateral quickness for that. He's super athletic, but his defensive IQ is pretty low, and he's not a good defender. He gets blocks, but blocks, defense is more than blocks. He's not good at getting stops. He gets scored on a lot, and especially because it's already really important in the NBA. And if you're not versatile at the center position in the next few years, you're going to struggle. So I'm a bit skeptical of DeAndre Ayton, but I also think he's going to be a really good player. So that's why I have him in this tier. But if I did have a tier between perennial All-Star and borderline All-Star, I think Ayton would be in that tier. Next, we have the borderline All-Stars. I have two players in this tier, Colin Sexton and Gary Trent Jr. Both of these guys are really good scorers. So the reason I have Colin Sexton in this tier is he was averaging 21 points per game but before the Cavs fired John Beilein in his second season. And yeah, the fact that he was doing that at shooting guard at only 6'1", if he transitions back to the point guard position, where there won't be players that tall defending him, I think he can be really, really good. And after John Beilein got fired, he was averaging 25 points per game. So it looks like Colin will be an incredible scorer in the NBA. And yeah, players who are that good at scoring, such as Zach LaVine and D'Angelo Russell, they are borderline All-Stars. And I think Colin Sexton will fit into that same type of player when he reaches his peak. The other player I have in this tier is Gary Trent Jr. Before the bubble, I don't think he would have even been on this list. But he was, back in high school, he was ranked very high in this draft, in all the mock drafts and all of the player rankings and the big boards. But at Duke, he played with Grayson Allen, who was a senior and was a really good player. Hint, hint, we'll be talking about him a bit later in this video. And he also played with Marvin Bagley and Wendell Carter. So he wasn't really needed to be a pure scorer, which he's really good at. He was just asked to be a catch-and-shoot player, which he did good at, but he didn't do incredible. He did do really good, but just being a catch-and-shoot player, yeah, that's not going to get you drafted really high. So the Blazers picked him up in the second round, and he has been incredible in the bubble. He's been their sixth man because they have Damon CJ, but he's 6'5", so if the Blazers can't find a small forward this season, I think they should put Gary Trent at the 3. I know that's horrible defense, but Melo isn't that good of a defender anyways, and during the bubble, they've been incredible with Melo as their 3, so I think they could run out a few lineups with Gary Trent at the 3. But anyways, in the bubble, he's been averaging 21 points per game off the bench. He's been scorching hot, and he's been like a mini Damian Lillard. The Blazers have 4 scoring guards, pure scoring guards, that aren't good at defense. They all have similar play styles. And Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Gary Trent Jr., and Anthony Simons. 3 of those players, Dame, CJ, and Gary Trent, they all have the they're all so far like turned into players that are either stars or looking like they can be stars. And Anthony Simons also has a lot of potential. So, like, I don't know how this fit is going to work, because if Anthony Simons fulfills his potential and Gary Trent also fulfills their potential, then they're going to have 4 really good cards that all need to be played and all have similar play styles. But due to Damon CJ being much older than Anthony Simons and Gary Trent, I think what they could do is, as they're transitioning out of the Damon CJ era, they can start transitioning into the Anthony Simons and Gary Trent era, and have those 2 players be mentored by their previous backcourt, so they can have a similar backcourt after this. Or if the Damian Lillard trade rumors are true, which I don't think they are, because the Blazers are playing incredible right now, and if they make the playoffs, a lot of people think they can actually upset the Lakers, which, yeah, I think it's possible, because the Lakers have been struggling in the bubble, and they have lost both of their perimeter defenders in Rondo and Avery Bradley because of this coronavirus and because of injury. Yeah, I just blanked there. So, yeah, but I think Gary Trent at his peak is going to be a really good scorer, just like I said about Colin Sexton. And I think he could actually be better than CJ McCollum is now. So the next tier is the good starter tier. There's the most players out of any tier. I have the most players in this tier than any other tier. And, yeah, it looks like, there's almost the same. Almost half of the players are in this tier. And these players are just going to be good starting level players, not stars. The first player in this tier is Marvin Bagley, and Marvin was the number 2 pick, and I think he can be in one of the tiers above this. It's just we haven't seen much of him due to his injury, so he doesn't look like he's going to have much progression throughout his career, and he's going to stay at a similar level to what he is now, which is the good starter tier. And I haven't seen enough potential out of him to put him any higher. The next player in this tier is Devontae Graham, and he's been really good this season, but due to him already being 24 and he's going to turn 25 very soon, I don't think he has enough time to be anything better than he already is, and I think he's going to stay at a similar level to what he is now, and I think he's just going to be a spark plug. The next player in this tier is Dante DiVincenzo. He's been a really good defender for the Bucks, and he's also shown offensive potential. And because of that, I think he can become a really good starter in the NBA, but I don't think he's going to be a star like Bleacher Report predicted. The next player in this tier is Grayson Allen, who this is purely because of what he did in the bubble, and also what he also showed some potential at Duke. The reason why I don't have him in any of the tiers above is, once again, like Devontae Graham, he was he played 4 years at college, so he is a older prospect, and because of that, I have him in this tier. The next player in this tier is Mikal Bridges, and if what the Suns are doing isn't a fluke, and Devin Booker actually wants to stay in Phoenix, I think Mikal will be a very good complementary piece for it. With him, I don't think he's going to be a star, but I think he will be a really good 3-and-D player and a player that any team would want. The next player in this tier is Mitchell Robinson, and Mitchell Robinson just looks like he's going to be like Rudy Gobert. And I know Rudy Gobert is he made the All-Star team. People consider him a star, but I don't think he's a regular star. I think he just a double-double player who can play good defense. I think Mitchell Robinson might be a bit better offensively, but I think he'll be a similar player. And despite Rudy Gobert making the All-Star team, I think Rudy Gobert did deserve that. As the NBA is becoming more and more small, I don't think a player like that will be considered an All-Star. in the coming years when Mitchell Robinson enters his prime. But I think that kind of player can still start on certain teams and be a good starter. The next player in this tier is Mo Bamba, and Mo could probably be in one of the tiers above, based off the potential he has, his athleticism, the flashes he's shown of shooting. But at this point, I haven't seen enough to put him in any of the tiers above. But he has shown flashes, and that's what puts him in this tier. Mo could either be a huge bust, or I think its absolute ceiling, he could be either in the perennial all-star tier or maybe even the generational superstar tier if in the perfect situation. We'll just have to wait and see. The next player in this tier is Wendell Carter Jr. I think Wendell will stay at this level for the rest of his career, not get any better, and not regress until he's very old. He's just going to be a double-double machine that's pretty good on defense. And yeah, I think that's a starting caliber player in the NBA. And now we have two undrafted players, the two undrafted players on this list, both in this tier, Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn. They've both been really good this season. Kendrick Nunn throughout the entire season, he even showed flashes of being a rookie all-star at the beginning of the season, but he did start to cool down, but he still had a great season. And Duncan Robinson has been an absolute sniper, but in the bubble, he has played like Klay Thompson, minus the defense, of course. But although they have shown star flashes, Kendrick Nunn's already 24. He's turning 25 very soon, and Duncan's already 25, and he's turning 26 very soon. And because of that, they will be entering their primes in 1 or 2 seasons. So I don't think there's enough time for them to progress into stars, but I think they can still be valuable contributors on a contending team. And so yeah, that's it for the good starter tier. And let's get on to the final tier. This is the starting caliber role player tier. These guys, I don't think there's any chance that they'll be an all-star unless they have some crazy breakout season. The 5 players in this tier are Anthony Simons, Jalen Brunson, Landry Shamet, Miles Bridges, and Shake Milton. So I want to talk about Anthony Simons, who's all the way on the left, and Shake Milton, who's all the way on the right first. So these two guys, they aren't, I don't think they're at starting caliber level yet. Shake is a bit better than Anthony Simons, but I think he's a bit raw right now. And yeah, they're both really raw. And so both of them, I think, are out of these 5 players, have the highest potential to be in to break out and be in a higher tier. Because I think they can be really, really good scorers. They just have to be used right and trained right. But right now, I don't think they will be stars, and I'm putting them in this tier. But in the next few seasons, we'll really see whether or not they can be much higher. Fun fact, Shake was actually the 54th pick in this draft, and not including Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson, who went undrafted, he's by far the lowest drafted player on this list. And the next player in this tier is Jalen Brunson. Yeah, Jalen has been pretty good this season, but he doesn't project to be a star. I think he'll if the Mavericks keep him, I think he will just be in his prime. I think he'll just be the guard alongside Luka. And he's a pretty good playmaker, and he can score. And yeah, I think he'll just be good alongside Luka, or he can be a trade piece to get a star. The next player in this tier is Landry Shamet. Landry is literally just a catch-and-shoot player. He doesn't do anything else, but he's pretty good at that, so I think he will be a pretty good role player, and I think his peak is like a J.J. Redick kind of player. Now, the next player in this tier is Miles Bridges. Yes, Bridges has averaged a ton of points this season, at about 13 to 15 points per game, but I don't think he's actually that good. I think that's just a result of him being on the Charlotte Hornets, who, like, pretty much the only players who are in front of him in the hierarchy are Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier. And I'm pretty sure Terry Rozier is coming off the bench. So, like, yeah, who else is going to score? Like, there's a lot of possessions open on this team. But I think once this team actually starts to get pieces, or once he's, like, put in a situation where we can actually see, like, how good he is, where there's other players on his team where he has to compete with for touches, I think we'll truly see how good he is. And I think he'll just be like Gerald Green at his absolute peak. Yeah, I just had a voice crack. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you disagree, comment down below what you disagree with and what you would change about it. And yeah, so I just wanted to say that the reason why I didn't do 2019 is since it's only been 1 year, we don't really know who's going to be good. I know, like, Ja Morant and Zion Williamson, along with a few other players, like, we know that they have a ton of potential, but, like, most of the time, rookies most drafts have rookies that struggle a lot, but are really good in their second season. And in the next few years, we'll really see how good the 2019 draft is. So if I still have a channel next year, I will do this for 2019. And as for this year, I might also do 2017, 2016, and so on, like other drafts. But yeah, so I wanted to start with 2018. Overall, 2018 is looking super stacked at this current moment. And if everything goes right, I think 2018 can end up at that same level as like 2003, 1996, and 1984. I know that those are huge expectations, but I think it can really happen. Yeah, so anyways, that's it for this video. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and also hit the notification bell if you haven't already. And yeah, so that's it, and bye.